Hi, I'm Benton Stokes.
And I'm Elane O'Rourke.
And this is Cocktail Theology. Hello there.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm good, I guess.
She said with confidence.
Okay, if anyone else has a day job that is not their favorite thing to do, but isn't horrible, then the days where it's, good are, good. Mm-hmm. So I'm feeling, good.
Okay. I guess that's the best we could hope for
That's
then.
the best we're going to get.
Well, at least we're enjoying a yummy festive cocktail. We have a cranberry party punch. This is a recipe that is in our Cocktail Theology cocktail book. Ordinarily, it is a tequila-based cocktail. However, we've made it with both tequila and with vodka, and tonight we're enjoying it with vodka. So it has a syrup that we make. It's a cranberry syrup. Pretty easy to put together. It also has some lime juice in it, and then it gets topped with ginger beer of your choice, or ginger ale if you like it a little less spicy. And then it gets pickled ginger like you use in sushi.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So it's got a little bit of heat from the ginger. We did use a Fever Tree ginger beer rather than a ginger ale, so it does have a little bit of spicy kick to it. But it's a gorgeous red color.
It's so pretty.
And it's kind of light and fizzy, and it's something that you could make a batch of ahead of time if you were having a party and just pour it up, top it off with some fizz, and go.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think we need to have a party now.
I think so, too.
Which actually puts me in mind of our conversation tonight.
So what is it we're discussing tonight?
Well, tonight we are talking about Christmas and why it is that Christians think every other holiday that happens in December, around December, is a parallel to Christmas. And more specifically, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, not Christmas.
Not Christmas.
And not bad, but not Christmas.
Just different.
You just can't Christmasize them and have it all work out. Like, you know what I mean? If you take a menorah, and that's the 8-armed candelabra that you use for Hanukkah. If you take a menorah and you put a Santa hat on it, it's still not a Christmas item.
It's still a menorah.
Okay? And the point of Hanukkah and the point of Kwanzaa have nothing to do with the point of Christmas.
Yeah.
And they're not so insane as
Right.
Christmas.
That is very true. I mean, what little I know. So I expect to learn a lot.
You're going to learn a lot.
I am going to learn a lot.
So where should we start? Should we start with why it is Christians think everything's about them?
We could do that. We really could do that. I was just thinking as you were talking about the insanity around some Christians on the right talking about the war on Christmas and how Christmas is under attack, and that's been going on for years. Clearly, that is not happening. Christmas bullies and bulldozers everything in December. You can't escape Christmas. If you're anti-Christmas, you might as well just go live in a cave.
That's right.
Starting at the end of really it starts at Halloween now. It's November 1st. It all starts. And so just go live in a cave for the last 2 months of the year because you can't avoid it.
No.
And I like Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't want to start thinking about Christmas on November 1st. I start thinking about Christmas once we get to Advent. But then I still want to go through the steps of Advent, as we've talked about on this podcast a couple times now this year, before I actually get to Christmas. And then Christmas is sort of like Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and then the days after Christmas,
That's
where
right.
you can just kind of linger there in that space.
That's
And
right.
if you're lucky enough to have some time off, you can spend it with friends and family and enjoying your gifts and enjoying time with friends all the way up to New Year's if you want, all the way up to Epiphany if you want.
Exactly. Christmas starts on Christmas Day. Mm-hmm. That's when Christmas starts. It's a season. It's a short season, but it's a season.
But it's 12 days.
It's 12 days. And there are partridges involved.
Right. And what I don't understand is people I have an aunt that takes down all her Christmas on Christmas Day. It's over now. And it's why would you do that? And I think she puts it up on Thanksgiving, takes it down on Christmas. But I know around here, our practice is more to put it up just very soon before Christmas and then leave it up until as late as we want, but usually into January a day or two, sometimes as far as the 6th.
Pretty much Epiphany.
Yeah. So not to slam on people who love to set up their Christmas tree early. Totally get that. It's absolutely fine. But I think if you're trying to stay in the rhythms of the season, like we've talked about, putting up your Christmas tree on November 1st and listening to Mariah Carey right after Halloween is probably premature if that's what you're trying to pay attention to.
Totally understand that. They are contradictory impulses.
Yes.
One way to do that, if you are a Christmas all the time kind of person, is to gradually add things rather than doing it all at once.
Yeah.
So you can put up just a little bit of Christmas. I don't know what that would mean, but change your pillows out for red pillows. I don't know, but you know what I mean.
Right.
But do a little bit at a time.
A little
So
at a
you can do that.
time.
You can do
Right.
that.
Or you can do an advent calendar, which is kind of a neat little countdown to
Yep,
Christmas.
absolutely.
Yeah, but getting back to what you were talking about, you can't escape Christmas. And so, yes, Christians in the West have definitely taken over the month of December.
Absolutely.
And claimed it for Christmas.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. It's a little like Constantine taking over most of the world and claiming it for Christians.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not different. I do have a factoid, though, about this whole war on Christmas
do
thing.
tell.
Okay, so I've forgotten the exact dates. I want to say 1669 to 1681, but that may be incorrect, so nobody quote me. The Puritans outlawed the celebration of Christmas because it was too pagan. So really, the only people who have declared war on Christmas in the United States are Christians.
Or other Christians.
So just thought I'd throw that out there. Okay, so Christmas, let's just make sure that we've got all of our terms correct. So Christmas is the celebration or the remembrance, depending upon how you see these things, of the birth of one Jesus, to be of Nazareth,
Yes.
born in Bethlehem,
Yes.
whose story is told in the Christian, what we call the Christian scriptures. So essentially, though, the four Gospels, the four books of good news, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, right?
Right.
So that's what that's about. Now, there's a lot of stuff around it, but that's the point. And if you haven't seen A Charlie Brown Christmas recently, you should probably go watch it.
I love it.
It's so wonderful, but it's also... That's the meaning of Christmas, Charlie Brown. Yeah, so I can't do Linus, but y'all know what I'm talking about. All right, so that's Christmas, okay? Now, because we've appropriated, let's just say the last quarter of the year, basically, because, it doesn't matter. Because we've appropriated it, there's been I think, usually a good-natured desire to make Hanukkah a parallel thing, okay? I think part of it is a desire for Jewish kids to have the Christmas experience. I think there's some of that in that. So I think there's some goodness in that. However, they're completely different holidays for completely different purposes. And the fact that they overlap actually speaks more to our pagan roots and to the reality of the solstice than it does to anything actually having to do with Judaism and Christianity.
Okay.
Okay. So I can get you dates on this. I actually have them in front of me, but here's the key on Hanukkah. 3rd century BCE. I've forgotten which emperor it was. It doesn't matter. Came in, ransacked the temple, took out all of the Jewish stuff, threw in lots of Zeus stuff. Okay? So they were in there for a while in the temple, and over time, rebellion started. And again, details I am happy to give you, but it doesn't matter so much. So the key is that when the Jews took back the temple, they had to remove everything, get all new vessels, all new everything in there. When they got in there, basically, there was enough oil for one night of light. Or one day of light, I guess.
Okay.
However, mystically, miraculously, the oil lasted for 8 days.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. So the idea of Hanukkah, and Hanukkah is in the Jewish calendar, it's kind of parallel to Purim. Like, it doesn't have religious meaning per se. It doesn't have to do with the covenant between God and the people.
Okay.
It has to do with celebrating and remembering something that was important in Jewish history.
Okay.
Okay. So Purim has only celebration, no responsibility. Same with Hanukkah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the big thing about Hanukkah is the light. It's a celebration of light.
Yes.
And so you successively light more candles over that 8-day period of time, right? So you're building into the light. That's the idea of Hanukkah. There's also now a tradition of giving gifts, small gifts, throughout Hanukkah. There are games, like you may have heard of spinning the dreidel. Now,
Yes.
the dreidel is actually a betting game, so that's kind of fun. You always think of it as children. It is not a children's game.
Right.
It's like the Jewish version of pinochle. You know what I mean? It's like it's what you do in the back and with the money and the whole thing. Anyway, I'm making light. But anyway, that's the idea of Hanukkah. Okay, is it's celebrating this victoriousness over rulers who had thrown out the God of Israel.
Awesome. Love that. Okay.
So that's what it is.
Yeah.
So that's that. Nothing to do with Christmas.
Right.
Okay. And I think it's important to add at this moment that the reason we celebrate Christmas on December 25th is because there was already a pagan holiday at that time. And Christians like to go in, and this is actually very smart marketing, right? Christians like to go in and layer Christian holidays on top of things that are already there. So Christmas is an example of that. If you've heard of the religion Santeria, Santeria is a layering of Christianity on top of a much older, more pagan, I'm using that in the non-derogatory way, right? Earth-based, people-based thing. So that's a layering of that. We love to do that, okay? So Christmas is a pagan holiday with some Jesus thrown in, right?
Yes.
And all of the ways we celebrate it, pretty much, come out of pagan ideas.
Right.
Right? So adding a lot of light, bringing a tree inside, those kinds of things tend to be, they're more pagan-like. Okay?
And even some of those things, like the tree, for instance, most churches that I've been around in the last, 10 or 20 years have a Christmas tree somewhere, whether it's in the foyer or up front featured.
Absolutely.
Christmas trees have become a part. And the Christmas tree was a thing when I was a kid, where the kids would make the little felt ornament things that were all like Christian symbols, and then we would go up and hang them on the tree. Right.
Yeah, and again, you don't have to get rid of Christmas trees. Okay?
No.
But, even if you're trying to be very, very Christian, they no longer have the pagan meaning.
No.
But if you're looking at the history, that's how these things happen.
Right.
Okay. All right. So that's Hanukkah and Christmas. And then I did have to look up Kwanzaa because I know it, but I really didn't want to mess it up. So Kwanzaa it was started in the 1960s by, I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, but I'm going to try it anyway, Maulana Karenga, who was an activist, and based it on African harvest festival traditions from various parts of West and Southeast Africa. It was first celebrated in 1966. And the idea was to give a Africa-based holiday to African Americans that would reflect on their own long history, separate from colonization, slavery, and so forth.
Okay.
So Kwanzaa has 7 principles involved in it. They are, I'm not going to try the African words, so unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith.
Nice.
Yeah. So some of the things that people do for Kwanzaa is decorate their households with art and colorful African cloth, fresh fruit. There are ceremonies to give respect and gratitude to ancestors. A common cup is shared. So things like that. But the idea was and this, I think it was really instituted after the Watts riots.
Okay. So
it was really kind of in some ways, Hanukkah-esque, right? A claiming of a particular important cultural moment and a reframing it in terms of what it means to be community, what it means to be faithful in all the ways that's a word.
Yeah.
What does it mean to honor your ancestors and to kind of reclaim who you are or might have been, right? So again, nothing to do with Christmas.
Right.
Okay? At all.
Right.
Could you celebrate all 3? Sure.
Sure.
Because there's only one that's like specifically religious, and most Christians don't treat it as a specifically religious holiday anyway.
That's true.
There might be a picture of Jesus somewhere around. There might be a doll hanging out but most Christians pay very little attention to the birth of Jesus. And in fact, the birth of Jesus as a holiday came along very late in Christian history. It was not seen as a major thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. again, if you read scripture, there's nothing about him between 12 and 30. I mean, nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing. So his growing up was not actually that important. There are references to his birth in the four Gospels, well, 3 of the 4 Gospels, but it just wasn't a big deal until later. And I really believe, and I haven't done no research on this is completely unfounded, purely my opinion, no basis for it.
Right.
My bet is that Christmas was, as a celebration of the way we think about it, was created for the purpose of pressing down that pagan holiday.
Wow.
And again, nothing wrong with that religiously, right? I mean, it's fine to celebrate Jesus' birth, and it's a wonderful thing, and the stories are fantastic, and the John 1 through 10 is my favorite passage of anything, anywhere, ever. But what mattered to people was his life and, his crucifixion, resurrection, and ascension. That's what mattered.
That's what mattered. That's so interesting.
So I think it is important to remember these are not competing traditions. They're not competing holidays.
That was the thing that's the thing I was going to close with, is people who have been out of shape over, the whole wishing people Merry Christmas. We should all be able to, wish each other Merry Christmas, whatever. Right. And I heard somebody say a few years ago, I could not tell you who it was, but I thought it was great advice, is to wish people a happy whatever and receive it as somebody wishing you a happy whatever. You know what I mean? So, in other words, if somebody were to wish me a happy Hanukkah, why would I be offended by that? Why would that offend me? I think I would just be like, hey, you too. I mean, I don't know. So,
do you celebrate Hanukkah? But that would be a great response, right?
Yeah, that would be a great response. And I do, I think on social media, I really love seeing Christians who are in a position of influence wishing their Jewish friends a happy Hanukkah.
Absolutely.
Or other seasons throughout the year for our Muslim friends or Jewish friends. Or I love that, and I think that's a practice that we should all consider.
Absolutely.
But I think you're right. I think the dominance of Christian thought in the West, particularly in the United States, and then those on the right that want to get all up in arms and feel angry all the time because they're not getting enough. It's just like, why can't we just celebrate and learn from one another's traditions and celebrations and just, lighten up?
Yeah. And especially when they're not in conflict. There's no conflict between these 3 holidays.
No.
0.
None at all.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to get the stick out of our Christmas.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Listeners, we would love to hear from you, especially if we have listeners that do observe Kwanzaa or Hanukkah or any other observation during this season. I know some pay attention to solstice, and that's an important thing. If these are occasions that you celebrate, we would love to hear from you and get your perspective on this. Also, we always love to hear from all of our listeners, regardless of what your faith background or faith experience is. Never feel shy about sharing your thoughts with us. If you have a different faith or currently no faith that you really adhere to, and you're just trying to figure it all out, because we're here for that. You can always reach out to us via email, Benton, Benton, or Elane, Elane, at schoolforseekers.com. We would love to email you with things. We're not going to spam you to death, but when we do have things coming up, we would love for you to know about it. And you can know about it by joining our mailing list at schoolforseekers.com. Well, we hope that you are enjoying your Advent season, regardless of your faith right now. I hope that as this year is winding down, that you are finding joy and finding hope and finding peace and finding love.
Absolutely. And if you happen to be listening to this in July, have yourself a merry little Christmas anyway.
That's right. You can do that anytime you want.
Anytime you want.
Thanks for listening, friends. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.